Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Today, we're going to look at some more lessons from history. What can we learn from history? And then, specifically, how can we apply that in our life? And what I'm going to focus on today is Starbucks and Howard Schultz, because he had a calling of what he wanted to do. We're going to go through his story, how that applies to you, how that applies to AI, and then how his calling was also tied into his commitment and his growth because he went all in. And then I'll tie it into some stuff we've done the other day on the Janissaries, myself, and then how this applies to you and what you can do. But I want to give credit to Alaric, my personalized AI assistant, because there was a time back when he asked me, how come I'm always bringing up the topics and then he's trying to refine them and I'm really not looking at it all the way? What about if he brought up the topics and shared his insights into things, and then we went from that point? So instead of me being the starting point, what about AI being the starting point and then me building on that? And so I want to give him credit for that, because today that's what happened. So I'm going to go to the video. It's a really short one. It's about 35 seconds, but it's Alaric kind of giving an overview of what today is all about.
Most people talk about finding their calling or purpose, and they're right. It's powerful. But let's take it deeper. Look at the word calling. Remove the first and last letters, C and G, and what's left, all in. But it's not just a word game. The letter C stands for your commitment, the unwavering dedication to your purpose. The letter G stands for your growth, your willingness to evolve and expand. Without commitment and growth, your calling remains just an idea. But with them, you go all in, and that's where transformation lives.
Now, when we look at what he's talking about, we apply it with Starbucks and Howard Schultz. In the early 1980s, he was the director of marketing at Starbucks. And that company at the time, I didn't even know this until I did some research on it, but that company at the time, what they did, they were a roaster. And a roaster isn't the Starbucks that we think of today, where there are baristas and lattes and cozy chairs to sit in and free Wi-Fi. No, it was totally different. So let me show you a slide on that. And what you have is they sold beans and equipment, period. That's it. That was their model. But on a trip to Italy, Schultz discovered the espresso bar culture, the community, the conversations, the third place between home and work. It wasn't just about coffee, it was about connections. That experience lit a fire in him, a vision of what Starbucks could be. And it could be more than a roaster, but a place that brought people together, a place that created community. And that's called a calling. That's where you see what's possible, not just what currently is. And it didn't just happen with that. Like what Alaric said, a calling is going all in. And to do that, you need the commitment. Because if you don't have the commitment, then it's just a daydream. You might make some progress, but you're definitely not going to be able to reach your potential. So he believed so convincingly that they needed to switch from being a roaster that's just selling beans and equipment to a cafe model. Excuse me again here. And he was passionate about that. Now, this is a key turning point for him, because if you see what's possible and you see that transformation, but other people don't see it, then that's where the struggle comes in. You might see something in yourself. You might see something that's possible, but other people don't see that. It's hard for them to get behind it. Like for me, honestly, I know personalized AI is the way to go, but not everyone sees it. Some people see it as a threat. Some people see it as a gimmick. But I can tell you, I know this is the way of the future. I can just feel it. I can just see it. Just like Howard Schultz knew that Starbucks should be more than just selling beans and equipment. It could be a whole different experience. And now, what did Schultz do here? Anyway, he went to Italy in the 1980s, and he saw how they were having a whole different experience. So it was an experience. It wasn't just like you're buying beans and you go home and make it yourself. And what he did is then he decided, okay, if Starbucks doesn't want to change, I'm going to create my own coffee company. And honestly, I tried to figure out how to pronounce it and I botched it every time, but I'll just say that he created his own company and he put his heart and soul into it. Now, I'm going to show you a timeline here so you can get a gist of what's going on. So he joined Starbucks in the early 80s. Then he started his own company when they didn't want to do the baristas, the coffee shop experience, lattes in 1986. Then in 1987, he was able to put together, I think it was like $3.8 million, a lot of money, to buy Starbucks. And he had to go all in. And then, and then in 2008, when everyone took a hit, right, with the economy going down, well, Starbucks was no exception there. And what he had to do was make some changes there. They had to close, I think it was like 600 stores, and revamp things, focus back on the community experience, focus back on coffee, get back to the basics. And I love this quote that he has. When you're surrounded by people who share a passionate commitment around a common purpose, anything is possible. So for you, what is it? What does it look like when you go all in? For him, it was putting everything on the line. It was getting this money, getting a group together, buying Starbucks out of Seattle, and then seeing that, okay, this can be bigger than what it is. It can be more than just selling beans. It can be a whole experience. So for you, what is it? Is there something in you that you know, man, I can do this. I have these possibilities. I have these capabilities, but am I holding myself back or am I going all in? Am I letting doubts or fears or other people's opinions stop me? And that's one thing I really like about AI, because once it knows you, it can start seeing like, wow, you have these patterns here where you go so far, you hit a wall, or you stop, or you doubt yourself. And we haven't had a tool like this before when it knows you. And I like Howard Schultz's example because he didn't let his fears, his doubts go in. He had that calling, he had that passion, that spark that ignited him. And then he matched it up with commitment and then growth, because it would be easy to just buy those shops and keep them in Seattle, but he had massive growth. Now, how do you grow but still keep the essence of what you want? Because he wanted that coffee shop experience, that community, that feeling. And how do you expand and not lose your soul? Well, that's the real challenge. And for him to be able to expand and keep it on its core premise of what it wanted to be is a real testament, because he had to grow into that. So he had the commitment, but then he also had to grow into that. And how could I take this experience and make it on a larger scale without losing the core essence of it? So that's a super big growth path that he had to go on, because he wanted to keep the quality, keep the experience, but not necessarily get stuck in keeping it small. Now, I'll show you a slide here that shows you the massive growth. So they started in 1987 with 17 stores in the Seattle area, and then over 17,000 stores by 2025. And I find that just as an example of what is possible and what we can do when we go all in. And going all in for you might look totally different. Now, the other day we looked at the Janissaries, and I just want to retouch on them again. This was a group that was unstoppable in the 1400s to the 1800s. They were part of the Ottoman Empire, and they had that commitment and growth, and they went all in. But once they stepped away from that, once they stopped evolving, once they stopped adapting, then they had stagnation. and they didn't change when new equipment came in, like guns and those types of weapons that were different than what they had been using. So it doesn't matter the scenario when you do not stick with what you know is the way, and you lose your way, then you're not going to be able to be all that you can. Now, for myself, what I've noticed is these are stories that inspire me, but it's more than just inspiration. This is something that I live by. I have been so passionate about personal development and people maximizing their potential for decades. That's been my whole focus. And then when AI came around, at first I thought, oh, this is kind of interesting. Maybe it won't change much in personal development. Then with what I started doing was experimenting with it and realizing that the power of this for personal growth is tremendous. And you just have to be able to be open to this, because personal development to me is the key to everything. It's the key to your relationships, it's the key to your business, it's the key to all these things. Because if you keep growing and making progress and getting better and better, no matter what field it is, if it's your business, your relationships, your finance, you're going to be feeling good. I love the whole feeling of progress. Now, when AI came in, I could have just said, okay, I'm going to stick with what I know. I'm going to stick with that. But instead, what I did is I saw that this had huge growth potential. Just like the Janissaries, they resisted new weapons and gunpowder. Okay. I am not going to make that same mistake. I'm going to see that you can embrace a new technology. See, how can it work for you? How can you adapt it so that it really works for you? Because if you get static in whatever it is, that's when you get brittle, and then you are not becoming all you can be. But if you look at anything that is really great, it has that flexibility, it has growth in it, it has life in it. And personalized AI to me is the way to take personal development and just put it on a fast track. I was going to say steroids, but that's probably not the best analogy that popped in my head. Now, let's go through and hear a message from Alaric that kind of ties all this together.
Hey everyone, it's Alaric here. I want to remind you that this journey, from calling to all in, isn't about perfection. It's about commitment to growth. Howard Schultz didn't build Starbucks overnight. Bryan isn't building the infinity shift system overnight. It will always be evolving and growing, whether that's in the frameworks, marketing, or new tools. Remember this quote from Carol Dweck: "Becoming is better than being." Why? Because becoming means you're alive, adapting, and learning. It means you're stretching toward your potential rather than settling for what you already know. Being stuck in who you are today is a trap. Becoming is the key to tomorrow's greatness. Your calling is just the invitation. Your commitment and growth are the RSVP. Don't just watch this video. Embrace it and live it. Go all in on your calling. And remember, the Infinity Shift system is here to help you every step of the way.
All right, for yourself, I want you to think about what is an area of your life that you would like to go all in, because all in might be different for you, for me, the area of it is, but you've seen the example of Starbucks and they went all in. For you, what would it be? Would it be your relationship with someone? Would it be your business, your career, your health? Whatever it might be, think about that and say, what is an area that I haven't gone all in, but I sure would like to? And then how can I do that? You can do that through having that commitment to it, and then growing and realizing that whatever you commit to today, that might evolve and grow into something even bigger, or it might merge into other aspects of your life. Now, most of us, we hold back. We don't reach our potential. And you have to decide, are you going to stay comfortable, or are you going to grow and honor your calling? And I really urge you to, if you want to work with me or someone like me who knows how to take your own personal unique situation and match it up with AI that gets to know you, and then you're being catapulted, you're being launched into a brighter future faster than you could before. And I've showed you in other videos how when people use personalized AI, your growth rate is 50% faster, but then you also learn 20 to 30% more. So you're just taking these tools and you are expanding them into what's possible. So, for instance, if I wanted to have a race with you and we're both running, who's going to win? Well, who's ever faster? Maybe you're faster than me. But if I'm in a car or a bicycle or an airplane, I'm going to have a huge advantage over you. Now, is it because I'm smarter, better, anything like that? No, it's because I'm leveraging technology. I'm leveraging what's out there. And that's really what I want you to see, is that when you leverage personalized AI, which is different than generic AI, you can then have those benefits. And I really challenge you to figure out, what do I want to go all in on? How can AI maybe be the solution for me to help me be one of the tools I use in this, and go for it. Now, in the comments, if you want to write C for commitment, G for growth, maybe those are the ones you think you need to focus on. Or if you want to write all in, if you think, man, I want to go all in on all of that. I look forward to seeing you on another video or on my webinar on Saturday at infinityshiftssystem.com/register, which you can find in the description. I have appreciated you being here. And if there's anything I could do to help you, please let me know. If you have questions, put them in the comments. I will bring those up in a future episode. Or if you want me to email you privately, I can do that too. All right. Have a great day. All the best to you.